This inexpensive camera upgrade is going to change how you shoot photos forever, and here's why you need to buy this in 2026. In this world dominated by instant gratification, likes, and views, creating art has become ever more important. Fatigued by the modern digital hellscape, we seek out a more intentional way of creating. But our modern high-tech mirrorless cameras are not made for this task. They are too perfect, convenient, and sterile, and they take so many pictures so quickly without any limitations. It does everything for you automatically, and it stops you from just capturing the decisive moment. But what if I told you there was a way we can use our big, bulky, mirrorless cameras to create authentic art, not content? This isn't some kind of gimmicky lens or a preset pack. Those can't mimic the character that this piece of tech gives your photos. It's a new way of shooting with modern cameras. It forces you to slow down and actually makes photography fun again. So what am I talking about anyway? This vintage 256MB SD card can actually convert your expensive new mirrorless camera into a digicam. Unlike newer SD cards that use QLC memory, these older cards use SLC. SLC stands for single layer cell. That means the memory chips only have one bit instead of many bits. Newer QLC and 3D NAND memory chips can sometimes have up to 4 or more bits, which actually degrades image quality and depth. It's a lot like the difference between CCD and CMOS sensors. Older SLC memory cards like this one, on the other hand, only have one bit, so every bit is stored on its own. Because of this, SLC memory cards use a more analog method of storing data, and that gives our files a more filmic and true-to-life look compared to modern SD cards. I actually find the look nostalgic, since these are the same cards we used in Y2K digicams when we were kids. Just like film, this vintage card only allows you to take 36 exposures per card. That means I can't just take thousands of photos like when shooting on a new SD card. It actually gives you a little more than 36 exposures. That's because we are no longer shooting in RAW. We are using JPEG only, which gives the photos a more filmic look. Because JPEG files are not RAW, they are not always the same size, so your camera actually doesn't know how many shots you have left until after you take the photos. I usually get around 40, which is just a few more than 36. This is one of the best parts about vintage SD cards. You sometimes get an extra shot or two, just like with 35mm film. It's unpredictable, but in a good way. A lot of people don't like shooting JPEG because you can't edit the files. But personally, I'm just happy that I'm spending less time in Lightroom and more time appreciating the world around me. Also, the imperfections of the JPEG artifacts are just like the grain of film. Since we only shoot JPEG, we can actually use features of the camera that would be lost when shooting RAW only. First, I like to set my ISO. ISO is the sensitivity level of the camera. Setting your ISO is like loading a different kind of film. I like to use 800 ISO, which gives me the same look as my favorite analog film, Cinestill 800T, an 800 ISO film. The T stands for tungsten, which means photos have kind of a cool blue look to them. In my camera's creative settings, I set the color to be slightly blue to get the same vibe.
Yummy.
I also love using my camera's built-in flash to give me that early Y2K look. I also read in Fruits magazine that the first ever selfie was shot on this same SD card in Japan. A lot of these shots actually have a Frutiger Aero vibe. The vintage SD card really gives the photos a more analog look. It captures the tones differently. The dynamic range is just better, and the colors are more alive. It even looks more cinematic than a regular SD card. You really can't deny the fact that some of these photos look exactly like film. Everything wasn't totally ideal though. While shooting these photos, I kept catching myself hunching. Hunching is the same thing as chimping, but I don't like to say chimping because it's actually a derogatory term for African American behavior. I'm an ally, so I don't use vocabulary that has racist undertones. Big yikes. Anyway, to solve my hunching problem, I simply disabled all of my screens, including the EVF. This makes shooting more intentional and honest. It's really just all about the experience of photography. Shooting without using screens just makes you think about composition more. The less we look at our screens, the better. And even though sometimes I miss a shot, it's truer and there's more emotion to the shot. I was having so much fun shooting with this vintage SD card. I shot so much that I actually had to go get another one. And you can get one too using my Amazon affiliate links in the description. I actually found a 10-pack of cards, which is great because after uploading my photos to the cloud using my phone, which is the only computer I own, I break the cards so I can't use them again. This makes the experience exactly like using real film and gives a quantifiable cost to each photo taken. I'm also actually looking at these photos for the first time while editing this video because I like to forget what I shot so I get that same feeling like it's Christmas opening presents as a kid when I review my photos, just like when getting your film back from the lab. There's just something about the process of using a vintage SD card that you can't replicate. The photos are less disposable than the ones shot on a modern SD card. Everything feels more organic. You really have to earn each shot. There's intention behind each frame, and it makes you a better photographer. It's all about the experience. Shoot less and be in the moment more. There's just something so sonder and even liminal about a memory that hasn't been captured. At the end of the day, we shoot photos for us, not for likes or views or sharing. We capture what's around us regardless of the subject, because we like taking photos for the sake of taking photos. And if you think the imperfections of a vintage SD card are beautiful like I do, then leave a comment below, press the like button, and get subscribed, because I'll be back next time with a brand new video.